But all that leads up to this is I started Quiet Warrior, trying to figure out. I had a bad, I don't know, just a lot of things just kind of came to bear and all around like 2002. Just, struggles at work, struggles in the family, just struggles, right? Just things that were just gnawing at me, things I hadn't maybe dealt with from my military past, um, things I hadn't maybe haven't dealt with even before then, right? Just all this stuff just kind of just went. And it was about 2002, and I just had a major. I was in charge of this huge project at work, and I got into it with. We were like, we were with one of my dearest friends. We kind of got into it. We were working together about it. We got into it over kind of a, I would consider it kind of small thing, but it was, I don't know, it was enough to get us angry at each other. And there's just a lot of other things that were kind of happening, probably happening in both of our worlds or whatever, but I can only speak for myself. And it just all this stuff kind of just came crashing in on this one moment, and I just kind of just lost it, like just, and I didn't know, I didn't know what to do. I mean, I'd already been dealing with depression. I was already dealing with anxiety, and I just didn't know what else to do. Right? I just didn't know what else to do, and so I don't know. I remember I told my wife, I was like, look, I don't know if I want to even be here, right? Like I don't even know. Uh, like I was thinking like I'm done. Like this life is not for me anymore. And I remember telling my wife like I had a pistol next to my bed that I kept for home protection. It's in like this cool box called a stop box, like so don't have to worry or anything like that. That just hanging out there is in some. But I was like, hey, I think you should move that. And it was just a really hard time. And I'm still digging myself out of that, like that time. But but more importantly, and not more importantly, but what happened is I was like, I want to build something different. I want to build a company. And like I'd had like my brother-in-law and my sister-in-law, they had been, fiddling around with like selling on Amazon and stuff like that. And I was talking to them, and I don't know, I just was like, I want to do something different. I want to build something. Um, and so I went and got well, I didn't know. My brother-in-law loaned me this book, and is by Ryan Daniel Moran, and I read it. I like to read anyways, and so I read this book, and it was called 12 months to $1 million, or something to that effect. And like I read it, like I could build a business, right? And in all that, he was like, you got to find an audience, got to find someone to talk to. And I was like, you know what? And he's like, the easiest thing to do is to find someone like yourself. Find whatever audience you would be in. That's a good audience. So I I was like, oh, what is my audience? And I was like, men. I'm a man, and like I have a lot of pressures, and it's hard. I get frustrated, and I don't know where to turn. I don't really have a lot of like, I have friends, right? I don't want to say I don't have any friends. Like I do have friends. I have people that I talk, but I don't talk to them. I mean, I have friends that I see at church, or I see maybe, maybe we'll go to lunch or whatever, but I don't have a lot of like just like, hey, let's go do something, friends, right? I just don't have that, right? And I don't know, maybe I'm unique or maybe I'm not unique, but I was like, I want to create something where there's a place like an oasis for men, right? Like some there, and I can serve men. And then in this thing, he's like, for your business, you got to have a product to sell. And I was like, oh, and I started, from all this, I started taking like supplements. I started taking like more vitamins, and there was a company in town that manufactured vitamins, and I'd been going to this, to figure things out. I had some health issues. It's like I would get sick when I would work out. Like I don't know, and I don't know if it was like part of my depression and anxiety or what, but like I would get sick, and like I couldn't find any place until I went to this. It's called Time Labs, and they had a nurse practitioner that was trained in, I don't even know what it's called now, but it was like some type of it was a little bit more in depth. And so they did this like deep blood panel to kind of figure out like what's wrong with you. And a couple of things that came back was like, you're insulin resistant. Like there's some of that. And then there was they're like your B vitamins. They're like these are some things that we'd recommend. And so they gave me these supplements, and I was like, oh, huh, this. And I started taking it, and I felt better. I think. I mean, yeah, I felt better, and so I was like, I wonder if I could white label some of this and sell it as a Quiet Warrior, right? And that's where I came up with the idea. That's what Storm Support is. It's this other company sells it for in another with another label. And so it's not crazy. And I'll be admitted I didn't invent it, but yeah, that's what I did. And it is good and it's been fun to try to figure out how to sell it. It's been probably the greatest challenge. It's been like 2 years I've been doing this since 2002, trying to figure this out. But then on top of all that, I was like, how do I create an audience? And I was like thinking about it, and I don't know. I was in the shower to be honest, and I was thinking, I want to help restore dignity and honor back to men. Because this is the thing, like, and this is where I would like to go with like this podcast is, I think men for the last, I don't know, long time, at least 30 years, if not 50 years, right? Like, there's kind of like men have been portrayed as either like superheroes, Arnold Schwarzenegger types, things like that, which again, don't disparage that, but that's kind of how, that's how we've been depicted, how we've been marketed to, right? Get the girl if you do this or whatever. Or it's like you're a dope, right? You're just like this idiot that's led around by your appetite, your nose, your other body parts or whatever. And but they don't talk about honor, right? Like you don't talk about like dignity and like being a man, right? Like being a man. We just don't ever talk about that, right? Because maybe it's hard for people to define what that means. And I mean, so I was like, that's what I want to do. I want to create this company and focus on restoring dignity, honor back to being a man. And what that means is not just being male, but being a dude that takes on responsibility, right? Like it's that takes it on willingly and to his um lives up to it, right? Like lives up to that responsibility. And it takes time. It's like a backpack in a sense. Responsibility is like a backpack. You got to put it on and it's uncomfortable until you build the muscles around your shoulders and your back and your core or whatever. And you build up your legs, the stamina of your legs. And then it's not as uncomfortable. But then also, like, cool thing about the backpack is you put things in it, right? You have things in there that you can use and it gives you purpose. And so, yeah, like I just want to talk to men about that, right? Like being responsible, taking on that responsibility, living into that, doing what we say we'll do, right? Just, I mean, basic things that we all grew up with that our fathers, or at least my father, took seriously. His dad took seriously. My grandfather, my mom's side took seriously. The men that I met and knew took seriously, like, back in the day, your word is your bond, handshake, things like that, where, I mean, if, there's a reason for those maxims and stuff like that, but like, that's what I wanted to kind of get back to is like that type of mentality and creating that type of like, I guess, ownership. And again, not in like a, because like, I don't know, there's like guys like Jocko Willink who I think, fantastic, served our country, great soldiers. I mean, it's Navy SEAL, did great things. And he talks about, extreme ownership and things that he learned as a Navy SEAL, which I think that's awesome. But I think there's also kind of like just, I don't know, regular ownership, getting up, doing what you said you're going to do, getting up, going to work, working hard, taking care of the business that you're taking care of. Um, and supporting that person, right? Like we're not always going to be perfect. It's not always going to be easy. I think we all understand that. Um, but yeah, but like kind of instead of being overly like in your face, like you got to do this, right? But being like, hey, let's do this, right? Like you're part of a group that's going to support you and love you and gives a shit about, or excuse me, that cares about you, and yeah, the products that we put out, that's what it's going to be about. Is how does that help you? Again, that's why it was started with Storm Support. Keep on putting that plug in there, but that's why I started with it is because I was like, what do men need, right? What is it that we know we need? We need to be able to focus, right? That's one of the toughest things to do is there's just so much like it's in the ethernet, right? There's so many things like I don't know about you, like when I open up my phone, sometimes I'm like, I'm opening it up to do one thing, check the weather or whatever, and then I see my ESPN app and I'm like, oh, who won last night, right? Like they're just focus, right? Focus is of a premium and then energy, right? Like just having energy, or those are the two things that like I was like, that's the thing that most men need. And so like the storm support, the ingredients in that are put together in a way that help with both of those things, with both focus and energy. And like the energy is like not like jolting you with energy, but just helping you metabolize your food or break down your food in your system so that it gives you energy throughout the day. But so there's your plug. But yeah, like that's what I was just thinking is like just the normal everyday guy, right? Like you and I, the people like you and I that we care deeply about our families, we care deeply about our children, we care deeply about our communities, right? We want our communities to be safe places that, allow for the development and growth of our children. And those are the things that matter to us. Like we care, but we don't give that much of a care of how much we can bench press or how much we how fast we can run a mile or whatever. I mean, those are great things, and I don't want to disparage that. Like I exercise every day, but top of mind for me is like, how are my kids doing, both in school and in life. How's my wife, things like that. Those are the things that are top of mind for me. And again, that's what I wanted to create. So that's my story. If you listen to this far, I really appreciate it. And what I understand is if you do 21 episodes of a podcast, you're in like the top 1%. So we're gonna try to get to 21. We'll do these every week, I think. I like this. It's cathartic. Um, yeah. And I'll post this. I have to figure out maybe get someone to do me some bumper music, like Back in Black or something like that. I don't know. We'll figure it out. But yeah, if you got this far, thanks for listening. If not, it's your loss. You didn't hear some really good stories. Not like you're even gonna hear that part either. So